Why are you doing that?
The blue or gray?
What? Changes it's green and blue.
Yeah, he said he's here.
I'm gonna go down there and take some more pictures.
Excuse me.
Oh, can you guys close this door when you start?
Oh, you want to run the first part and just make sure Steven's doing good? Sure. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's sit middle on the show side. Are we allowed to sit up front and take shots?
You guys can enjoy the show. Thanks, man.
Take care of us. All right. Hey, Jose. One more time, dude. Each miss is fun, right? Yeah. It's my first time ever filming it. Really? Yeah, me too, dude. Yeah. More like this. Yeah. Shut up.
Keep it there. Because I forgot his BG. I forgot his BG. So the I got out, and I like just took it out, and the truck closed, and I didn't know. Oh, they were like, "Where's James at?" We're like, "Oh, it's like he's like James."
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mrs. Schmeckel, the principal here at Arlington High School, and I'd like to thank all of the students for coming, and especially thank our esteemed guests for coming today. Welcome. Please rise and join me in the flag salute. Our flag is lifted. Ready, begin. Today, we are going to have Judge Bernard Schwartz as our moderator, and I wanted to introduce Judge Schwartz and tell you a little bit about him. He's a judge for the Superior Court of Riverside County in California. He holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Alberta. By the way, he's Canadian. Can you tell from the University of Alberta? He mentioned to me that he would be saying, "Well, Canada," up here if he were doing the flag salute. And a Juris Doctorate from the University of the Pacific George School of Law. Prior to becoming a judge, he was a Riverside Deputy Public Defender and an attorney in the firm of Johnston and Schwartz. Judge Schwartz was a commissioner for the Riverside County Superior Court for 3 years and was appointed to the bench by former Governor Greg Davis on October 8, 2003 to succeed Ronald L. Taylor. Judge Schwartz was most recently reelected in 2012, and his current term will expire in 2019. Welcome, Judge Schwartz.
Thank you very much. I promise I won't do any singing. I don't want to clear the hall. Good morning to all of you, and welcome to the inaugural Adopt a High School program. My name is Bernie Schwartz, and I am a judge here in Riverside. I'm in a criminal assignment currently, and I've been a judge since 2003. Before I go any further, I do want to talk about a little bit about the Adopt a High School program and what will be other sessions that will be down the road. And then I'm going to be quiet because we have many very, very good speakers here, people that are involved in the legal community that I think you'll want to hear from more so than me. But before I go any further, I do want to thank the two most important people in organizing this event today. The first of which is your AP Government teacher, Mr. Costa. And the second of which, I'm not sure where she went, is Kelly Moran. Kelly? Kelly is an attorney, and she's actually a local Riverside, she grew up in Riverside, and she went to Notre Dame High School, but she's been active in Riverside for quite a while, and I didn't actually know this about her until I read her bio, which is actually interesting because I know a lot of the people here on the dais, but I didn't know some of the things about them. But she actually worked for the Los Angeles Dodgers and also for Fox Sports at one point in her legal career. And she went to Pepperdine University, and now she works for Thomson Colgate. And so, in any event, I do want to thank her too, so if you join me in thanking her for help organize this event. The Adopt a High School program is a pilot program in Riverside, and we're here to introduce you and perhaps educate you, and for high school students and others, to various legal careers and legal processes. It's hoped that this program will expand next year to other high schools, perhaps in Riverside City and in the county. The program is actually divided into 3 segments. Today's segment will be Introduction to Legal Career Day. And the men and women that are seated here up on the stage have graciously agreed to give up their Saturday morning to spend with you to explain what they do within our legal system. Many of the people that are here today are actually Arlington alums, if you look at your program, some of which graduated here some years ago, some of which more recently, but they've all gone into and pursued a legal career. Also, we have judges, we have attorneys, we have people in law enforcement here, and so if any of you are thinking about pursuing a career in one of those areas, we certainly would be happy for you afterwards to meet with them. We do have many hundreds of questions that were submitted by all of you in various classes, and we did go through those questions, and I will be asking some of them. Some of them will be contained within the speeches that they give to you. So, with that said, we have allotted about 5 minutes or so for each of our speakers to come up and give a little bit of an introduction about themselves, what they do on a day-to-day basis, and how their life within the legal world works. And we hope to end this program about 11:30. The purpose of that is to allow you some individual time if you want to come up and speak with a judge or an attorney or perhaps a peace officer a little bit more privately in information that you might want to receive. Now, this is only the first step in the Adopt a High School program. There's going to be 2 more segments to this pilot program. Next year, on the last Friday in January, we will be presenting a legal case here at Arlington High School. We're going to have a district attorney and a defense attorney and a judge, and there will be a presentation, and you'll be able to watch a real case being argued. Then in April of next year, during each Friday of the month in the morning, there will be a class that will be taught by someone in the legal field dealing with significant and current constitutional issues. So that may be of interest to you. If it is, certainly there'll be some advanced publicity as to what the topics will be, and if you would like to attend, you'll certainly be free to do so. So we hope that you'll continue to support the program. The success of this program obviously will be helpful in jump-starting at perhaps countywide to other high schools in other areas of Riverside and Riverside County. Now, just a little bit about me. I'm not going to take a great deal of time talking about myself, but I am a criminal judge. I will tell you a little bit about how I got there and what my career is like, and obviously I'd be happy to speak to anyone after the fact if you wish. I currently sit in a criminal assignment. I hear criminal trials. That means everything from low-grade misdemeanor cases all the way up to serious cases. In fact, last week and this week I'm picking a death penalty jury. So we hear it, and of course everything in between. It's basically a open court wherein cases get assigned and we hear whatever does come to us. I did grow up in Canada. I actually went to the University of Alberta. That's where I got my undergraduate degree. It was a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science, and I had a minor in drama, which helped me later in my career when I was a trial lawyer. And then I wound up going to law school in Sacramento to the University of Pacific, McGeorge School of Law. We have a couple of other McGeorge graduates here as well. After graduating law school, I went back to Canada and worked for a civil firm. I did a little bit of real estate and business law, and then I came back to the United States and worked in San Francisco at an insurance defense firm, and that was handling cases from medical malpractice to car accidents, things along those lines. I then left and came to Riverside in 1989. I know that's probably before many of you were born. But I did come in 1989, and I started working for the Riverside County Public Defender's Office. It was my first foray into handling criminal defense cases, and I was a criminal defense attorney there for about a year and a half, in which time I left, and then I opened a private practice, and I handled that area of law as a criminal defense lawyer for about 14 years. I was a trial lawyer. And then after deciding that I wanted to change directions a little bit, I applied to become a court commissioner. And a court commissioner is like a judge, except instead of being appointed by the governor, you get elected by the judges of the court, and you hear all the same cases as a judge hears, except for those that parties do not agree to have you hear. But otherwise, you do everything that a judge does. And then, as mentioned, in 2003, I was appointed by Governor Gray Davis, and I've been a judge ever since 2003. Just one thing about becoming a judge, and we may hear a little bit about this today. There's really two avenues to become a judge from an attorney. Minimum qualifications are you have to serve at least 10 years at the bar before you're eligible, and then you can take one of two paths. You can seek to be appointed, in which you fill out an application and the governor reviews it and decides whether or not he wants to appoint you. Or you can run for election, and actually we have a judge-elect here who's currently a district attorney, Sean Lafferty, and Mr. Lafferty did the election route. But either way, even if you get elected, ultimately, if you get appointed, you have to run for election, and that election process or your period is about 6 years of time. So that's how long you serve as a judge, and if you're appointed, you have to run within 2 years of your appointment. So that's kind of how that works with respect to being a judge and deciding whether or not you want to run for those successive terms. So that's about all that I have to say to start. What I want to do is to get right to our speakers. I'm going to go in the order of the program, so you should all have received the program. And we're going to actually be starting, not with Mr. Costa, but with Mr. Firetag. Chad Firetag, I always joke with him, is actually the most famous Arlington alum, or at least up there. Chad is a criminal defense lawyer. He works currently at the Public Defender's Office. He is an assistant, which means he's right at the top of the list of people in the supervisory area. Chad was on the Arlington mock trial team, and he was the captain of the team that went to the national championships and won. So you have a lot to be proud of with Chad. Yeah, that's your point. Chad went to University of Riverside, received a political science degree, and then went on to law school at UC Davis. And he was a private lawyer for many years. In fact, Chad and I had cases when I was in practice, and then on the bench, he had tried cases in front of me before he became an assistant. But he is an interesting person to hear from, not only because he went to Arlington, but because he has had a very varied career. So, with all of that said, I'd like to introduce Chad Firetag.
I'm very glad that I could be here. I'm really happy to come and speak to you. I did graduate. I was in 1994, so it's been 20 years. It's been a little while since I've been in this room. I was thinking of it when I walked in here, how great this would have been if I had the opportunity to kind of listen. And when we think of the legal careers, we kind of think, the first thing we think is judges and lawyers. And that's natural. And I think what's so great about this panel of people here, as I was looking through all the bios, there's not just lawyers and judges, which are obviously part of the legal community, but we have people from police, we have people from probation, court reporters, so paralegals. So I'd really encourage you, afterwards, to come and speak to all the people that are here. As Judge Schwartz said, I graduated here in '94, and I can pretty confidently say I came into the law because of some of my experiences in mock trial. Are any of you in mock trial, just out of curiosity? Got a couple? Great, great. So I had always sort of thought that maybe I might go into, my thought was I always wanted to help people. Before I got into mock trial, I thought maybe I might go into ministry or to therapy, be a psychologist or something, but some of my experiences in mock trial kind of led me into the law. And I went to UCR and got my degree, and then went to UC Davis. Actually, my first job was at a big law firm, because I did well in law school. I went to a big firm, and I found that, and this is not to say that this is bad, there's a lot of great lawyers here who represent big companies, but I represented big corporations, that type of thing. And I decided I wanted to get into the courtroom, and I wanted to help people. And, being a criminal defense attorney, we usually deal with people who are at their very lowest. If you want to meet someone who is at the lowest point in their life, it's about 5 minutes after they've been arrested. And so talking to those people, trying to help them, trying to help their situation is something that I really enjoy doing. I did that for probably about 10, 11 years after I worked in the other law firm. And I tried a lot of cases. I tried cases with Sean over here. I tried cases in front of Judge Schwartz, and I loved it. But actually, it's a kind of a small world. My mock trial coach, Steve Harmon, the one that was my coach back in 1994, he'd been a mentor to me, or has been a mentor to me my whole life. And he became the public defender. And he and I had worked together for many years, and he asked me to be his assistant. So for the last year and a half or so, I've been kind of transitioned my role from a trial lawyer to sort of an administrator, and we handle, the public defender's office probably handles about 80 to 85% of all criminal cases. The other ones are what are called conflicts lawyers or private lawyers, people who can afford lawyers. But for the most part, the public defender's office handles, I would say, the bulk of criminal practice, criminal defense in our county. And it's a real honor, I think, every day to go to my office and to be able to help our lawyers, try to help other people. And our system of government is only works when there's a very strong police presence, a prosecutorial agency, and an equally strong defense. Because if one side or the other is out of balance, that's when you have problems. That's when government can be too intrusive. And so you always need that nice balance. That's the beauty of our system, is this checks and balances. And so I know there was a couple of questions I think that were asked, but that's really kind of the essence of criminal defense, is finding that balance between both the prosecution and the defense.
I have a couple of questions that were provided by some of the students, and so let me ask those, and then maybe Chad, you can address those. The first one is what do you do when you represent someone? What do you do when you represent someone that you believe might be guilty? How do you handle a case like that?
Yeah, I read that question, and the truth is, many of my clients were guilty of something. I mean, it's sometimes we watch TV shows like Perry Mason or Matlock or those guys, and you know it was fake because all their clients were innocent. That's crazy. It was never. I've represented hundreds of people, and I can say maybe with confidence 10 were totally innocent. And I represent hundreds of people. But I think that the point of what criminal defense is not to say to someone, well, you're guilty and therefore I'm not going to help you. Because a lot of times many of my clients were maybe not guilty of the crime that they'd been accused of, or a lesser crime. Or they may have actually been just as guilty of the crime that they've been accused of, but because of many different issues such as mental illness, drug addiction, poverty, there's a lot of different issues that go into when you are trying to find out what's the appropriate punishment, what is justice, if you will, and trying to find something that is right and fair. And so whereas someone may be guilty of a crime, you still would work for that person. I like to think it's somewhat akin to a doctor when a patient comes in and a patient is very ill. The doctor says to the person, well, have you smoked in your life? He says, well, yeah, I smoked. Well, did you eat right? No, I didn't eat right. Did you exercise? No, I didn't exercise. Did you do the things you're supposed to do to live a good life? No, I didn't do any of those things. But now I'm very sick. It would be anathema for us to think, it would be crazy for us to think that a doctor would then say, well, I'm not going to help you because you didn't do good things. We would expect that doctor to help that person no matter what, no matter the decisions that they've made. And although the analogy is not perfect, it is a little bit like what a criminal defense attorney does. When someone comes into my office and says I've done something, I try to help that person. And I work with the prosecution. And one thing that I want to also say is that when you're helping someone who may be guilty of a crime, you're not going in and lying. You're not saying something that isn't true. You are saying the truth, but you're saying it to put the prosecution to meet their burden of proof. And that's really what this is. And good ethical attorneys, criminal defense attorneys, DAs, civil defense attorneys, they always go in with the idea that they're going to speak the truth, but they're going to help their clients. And that's essentially what criminal defense attorneys do.
Jan, I have more questions for you. I think you can probably hear me. I have one more question for you, and that is the difference between when you're in private practice obtaining a client versus the clients that you represent now. What's the difference between a public defender and a private lawyer representing themselves?
Yeah. When a person is accused of crime, or they need an attorney, and I'll just take the criminal matter. A lot of times people have been accused of very serious crimes, and they go to an attorney, and I would, when I was in private practice, and they would say, I've been accused of this type of crime. And I might quote them a fee, basically. I would say, well, for me to represent you, I think it's going to be this many hours, it's going to take this much work, and so this is going to be my fee. And if they couldn't afford that fee, or couldn't afford any fee, or if they were, the word we use is indigent, which basically means they're unable to afford counsel. If you are unable to afford counsel, the government provides that service to you. And that's essentially what the Public Defender's Office is. It is born, although California had done this before the Supreme Court did, but some of you who are maybe at APA government would know of the case Gideon versus Wainwright, a very famous case, 1963. Clarence Gideon, a man accused of a crime in Florida, couldn't afford counsel. Went to a judge, said, "Judge, I can't afford counsel." And the judge said, "Well, I'm sorry, I can't appoint you counsel. We don't do that here." It was in Florida at the time. They said, "We only do that if you've been accused of a capital offense." And he was accused of burglary, basically. So he was convicted, went to trial. A prosecutor who was a lawyer convicted him, went to trial. And in his jail cell, and if you can imagine this, in his jail cell, he hand wrote on a piece of paper, in pencil, a petition to the United States Supreme Court. And that got all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and the United States Supreme Court, looking at some lowly burglar from Florida sitting in a prison cell, read his petition written in pencil and completely changed the entire way we look at criminal defense. And basically said, in our system of government, if you can't afford counsel, one is going to be provided to you. And that's essentially what the case came back. And just as a side note, Clarence Gideon went back to trial, had an attorney, and was acquitted, found not guilty. So it's a tremendous story, but that's the difference between really indigent clients, people who can't afford counsel, and those who can afford counsel because of resources and money.
All right, well, thank you, Jan. I sure appreciate it with you all. Our next speaker is a court reporter, and for those of you out there who wonder what a court reporter is or does, you will find out all about that from A.J. Grauer. Ms. Grauer actually went to Arlington High School. She's also a grad as well. 2006.
really build my relationships on my own. And I have the potential to make six figures if I really, really work hard and I don't have to incur a lot of school debt in the process. It took me about 2.5 years to complete the program, and that's about average. It can take you a lot longer. It's a self-paced program, so it's kind of, you get out of it what you put into it. But I still remember my first deposition like it was yesterday. I was sitting in the lobby, and I was all set up, ready to go, and I'm shaking, my heart's beating outside of my chest, and I'm reciting the oath to myself over and over and over, because I'm going to have to administer the oath to the witness in a few seconds. Probably looked like a fool to the secretary, but I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing. But after my first deposition, that's all it took. I just craved it more. I wanted to be out there meeting people, hearing all these different stories, and that's one of the things I love best about my job is that no day's the same. You can report on the same case, and one witness's version is going to be completely different from the others, and so it's not mundane. You go, and it's always something new, and you meet so many different people, and you get to travel and experience things that you probably never even dreamed of. And so, to be a part of such an elite group of people in such an interesting profession, it's made it really easy for me to love going to work every single day. And whether you talk to someone who's been doing it for 1 year or 30 years, we will all tell you that we just love it more and more. And I think I annoy some of my friends and family just how much I say I love it. But it's a really awesome profession, and I hope that some of you guys want to come look at it, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys may have, and hopefully maybe some of you look further into it.
Question for you, and actually, I don't know the answer to it, so I'm kind of interested to hear what you have to say. When you type,
Yes.
it's not like a typewriter or a computer. It's a machine where other symbols and things come out. Can you tell everyone the difference between what you would do if you were typing on a computer versus using a machine?
Right. Now, a regular keyboard, there is one key for every single letter. And if you look, it's not a standard keyboard. But every letter of the alphabet is assigned to either a single key or a combination of keys. And that's how you start out by learning. You learn how to write the alphabet. But the interesting thing is we don't write how things are spelled, we write how they sound. So everything is phonetic. But you can write a word, a letter, a phrase, and an entire sentence just by one stroke of the keyboard. And that's what allows us to write so fast, because there's been times where I look down at my computer screen and I'm writing 300 words per minute and everyone's just going at it. But that's how it's possible to do, because everything is condensed and it's all shorthand, which is what it's referred to. But
All right, thank you. All right, our next speaker is Judge Jacqueline Jackson. Judge Jackson was appointed by Governor Schwarzenegger in 2010. Judge Jackson received her law degree from the University of California, Hastings School of Law, and her undergraduate bachelor's degree in psychology at the University of California at Los Angeles, UCLA. She also served as a deputy district attorney in both Los Angeles and Riverside before taking the bench, and she currently sits as a juvenile court judge. She also
some a little bit younger. And I think on one of the questions I was asked what my most rewarding part of my job is every day. And so the most rewarding things I can immediately identify are what I would call reuniting families. I work with both dependency, most people think of that as foster kids, and I work with some delinquency. Most people might consider that juvenile hall or a kid on probation. So I always say kids come to delinquency when maybe they've done something wrong and gotten into trouble, and that's how the family comes in. And kids come into dependency when the parents have done something wrong or maybe gotten in trouble, and that's how they come in. So my most rewarding part is when I can reunify a family or have a kid get off of probation, sort of one foster care and one delinquency. But those are the things I enjoy the most. When I have healthy, safe families that a kid can go back to and know that they're okay, or when I have a kid who's successful off probation, they're doing really well. I don't believe there are bad kids. I think sometimes people do bad things, whether they're adults or teens. So getting them off that probation track, maybe helping them get through high school. Several kids on my caseload are at universities, either junior college or four-year schools throughout the country. And those are the things that I sort of keep motivating me every day. One thing on my bench I think that I'll share is a quote by Ronald Reagan. It's actually on this too. And it says, "I know in my heart that man is good, that what is right will always eventually triumph, and that there is good and purpose to every single life." And I think that as a judge, that's one of the things you have to remember. If you get frustrated or on the occasion when someone is not too happy with me, or yesterday a teen yelled at me, life happens. But just to remember to kind of press forward and to keep helping others press forward each day. And so that's kind of why I do what I do. I have to admit, as juvenile, I'm kind of half social worker, half judge. That's the job description. But I think I like it, and I think the path that sort of brought me here has suited me to that sort of work, at least for now. So that's my short answer.
All right, and Judge Jackson, Saw's microphones again. Judge Jackson, a couple of questions that were kind of predominant through the theme of questions that were being asked were, how young can a person be prosecuted? And then what about a person being a juvenile and then being prosecuted as an adult?
Okay, good questions. So the youngest I've ever seen with the case file was actually 7, which I thought was a little crazy, I'm going to admit, was 7. But the child was with older siblings who had broken into an elementary school allegedly and completely destroyed it. I think there was almost $20,000 worth of damage. So I remember that filing being not so much to punish the 7-year-old, but more because something was probably happening in that family where some oversight needed to occur. So the younger one was brought in with older siblings. And there are probation programs where a child isn't on formal probation or a juvenile hall necessarily at that age, but sort of intervention programs, counseling, and things that may help the kid. So that's the youngest I remember. I think by California law, I think on the books the youngest is just when they know right from wrong, which would vary from child to child. Like I said, 7's really young. I think 10 and up is probably more realistic. And then what age could you go from being a juvenile hall or a juvenile court to a criminal court? And so there are a few laws on the books that talk about, based on what kind of crimes you're accused of, where you may end up. So if you are 14 or 15, and you are accused of directly murdering someone, or being part of a group that has committed a homicide, or a couple of other very serious crimes, there's just about 4 or 5 crimes there, you could have a motion filed by the district attorney to take you out of juvenile into adult court, which is very serious, and the consequences are very, very different. In juvenile, you are done with juvenile at 21 years old. And by that I mean you can be on probation until you're 21. But if you happen to commit some kind of very difficult crime and go to what we call Department of Juvenile Justice, which would be considered like a juvenile prison, you could be held only until 21. That's not true if you end up in adult court prosecuted. You could stay possibly life, and possibly life without parole is the most severe crime. No death penalty for juveniles, but there is life without parole. And then for 16 and 17-year-olds, it's similar. You could stay in juvenile, or with certain enumerated or listed offenses, but there are many, many more of those offenses, or with certain repetitive conduct I always say my goal is to keep kids out of adult jail and prison. So the process is to get people on a different path. But if that's not working, that's another way to end up in adult. And the cap for some crimes at 16 or 17, like a death crime, that if maybe you were an adult, it would be punished by death. You could get life without parole and not come up for parole, even at 16 or 17. That's for the most serious crimes. There aren't too many of those, thankfully.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is Robin Jackson. Ms. Jackson is a former Santa Ana Police Department peace officer and actually rose to the level of detective. She investigated a number of different crimes. And by the way, this is not, I'm not sure if she is in your program, and if she is, it might be related to, it might say Ms. Johnson. I think it's the last person in your program, so there is an error there. In any event, Ms. Jackson did investigate areas of robbery, child sexual abuse crimes, child abuse. She was also a hostage negotiator. She worked in vice and narcotics. She earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in criminal justice at Cal State University, Fullerton. She also served as an instructor at the Orange County Sheriff's Department Academy. And she currently is the chair of the Community Police Review Commission. So if you would join me in welcoming Ms. Jackson.
Good afternoon, or morning, I guess now still, but I just want to say, wow, great for you, Arlington, for doing this and for being here. I look back on the years when I was in high school, and I really, truly wish there was something like this available to us back then. But let me tell you, I'm going to speak to you on two forums today, because I'm here from the Community Police Review Commission, which many of you may not even know you have in town. But I'm going to start off with being a police officer from Santa Ana, and I am retired. I was seriously injured, and it put a quick stop to my career, but I sure got to do a lot of things before that happened. But I'm going to go back all the way to high school, and where I'm sitting, when I was sitting maybe where some of you are, I was the valedictorian of high school. My parents were kind of thinking, ooh, maybe doctor, something like that. I personally preferred languages, so I was taking French, Spanish, German, and I still speak pretty fluently Spanish, so I was a bilingual police officer as well. But somewhere along life's paths, as things go on, and I went to college straight out of high school, went to a junior college and was majoring in languages. But somewhere along life's paths, things changed, and I had a couple little kids. And I wasn't one of these police officers who said, oh, ever since I've been 5 or 6, I wanted to be a police officer. For me, it was about trying to find a career that would allow me to support 2 little children on my own, and I wanted to really be able to do that. And somebody suggested to me, you should look into being a police officer. That thought had never even entered my mind. My parents weren't real thrilled. I think they were still hoping for the doctor. But I looked into it, and the way to do that and check out and see if it's right for you, the start of this program is one, but you look into criminal justice classes at your local community colleges. And that's what I did, and I found that I really liked what I was seeing. And then the rest is history. You just read my bio, and boy, was it a wild ride. You know, you start out going to an academy, when you come out right away, you're on the streets for us. Now, if you go through for a sheriff's department, you're going to start out in the jails, and then you may move to the streets. But for me, if you ask me what was the most rewarding part of my career, and possibly as a detective, it might not be, I think I go, wow, it was really fascinating. I solved the Kentucky Fried Chicken bandit for all of Orange County, because this person was hitting not just Santa Ana, but all over the county. I solved the 7-Eleven bandit story, same thing, he was hitting all over Orange County. So those might seem like the exciting things, maybe being a hostage negotiator, but really for me the most rewarding part was, in fact, speaking for those who couldn't speak for themselves, and that was when I worked child abuse. These are babies, these are little kids, these are people who they can't go to court and speak for themselves, and I probably learned the most in that particular piece of my career there, because I had to learn to be able to make my case solid so that I could speak for those who couldn't speak for themselves. So, going along the way, was college important? Absolutely. Do you need college? Not necessarily. A lot of agencies do require college. Usually you have to be 21, but I will tell you, if you have college and you're applying for the job and the next person over here same person all the way down the list of qualifications, but you had college, you're going to be taken a little bit more seriously. And then with Santa Ana, as with many agencies, they helped pay for my college. So I went and did my bachelor's degree on their time and on their dime. Same thing when I started into my master's program. They were helping to pay for that. So to me, college became a very important part because every time I gained a different level of education, it made my paycheck go up a little higher as well. We had officers there that were there for 20 years and I was making more money because I had the college education to back it, and they chose not to go that route. So for me, that's very important, and I think I'm a lifelong student as well. I still stay involved with college. I'm over at UCR in the crime analysis program. That's just something about me. I will always be involved with college. I have Phoebe sharing here with me from the commission. She's at the back of the room, and we're going to stay afterwards and be able to answer any questions, and I'll be happy to talk about police work or the commission. And Phoebe's going to be here with me as well to help answer questions. But I'm going to shift gears to what I do now. I got injured so severely I couldn't return to police work. Years go by, it took me a little time to come out of the injuries because they were that bad. But then I moved to Riverside about 6 years ago, and somebody suggested going to the leadership class here in Riverside that they offer through the city. And sort of one thing leads to another, and all I can say to you is if you can volunteer, if you can get involved in your communities, that too will help you in your careers. It's going to make you look better than the next guy on the application as well. Plus, it makes you feel good. You accomplish a lot. You're helping a lot of people. Well, little by little, this leadership class and some other volunteer opportunities evolved into putting in an application for the Community Police Review Commission. How many of you are familiar with what's going on with Ferguson right now? Anybody in the news? Show of hands. Okay. Well, several years back, we had a similar situation, and what turned into taking a negative into a positive, this commission evolved out of that really negative situation. A bunch of citizens went to bat and said, we need something to make a difference. So what the Community Police Review Commission does, this is a board of 9 volunteers. We don't get paid, and boy, do we put in a lot of hours. Our job, if you will, and I call it that because we had to go through a background check with the police department. We had to go through the full application and interview process. We interviewed with the mayor and the city council. It's just like you are getting a job. The only difference is there's no paycheck at the end of the day. But what we do is if somebody makes a complaint against a police officer, that comes to us. They can complain through the police department or they can come right to our office at City Hall. If somebody complains, we're going to get that case and we're going to look at it and see if it's legitimate or if it's not. Because sometimes they aren't. Sometimes somebody will say something, and sometimes it's just a misunderstanding that if you explain a procedure, it makes it easy enough to understand why something happened. The other item that we investigate and review is any time that an officer kills somebody in the line of duty. So now you have a really serious situation going on because you have somebody who's deceased. You have family members who are all up in arms. Those cases are going to go through a long process because they're going to go through the Riverside Police Department first, through all their detectives and all their shooting team and all their review board and their internal affairs. It's going to end up going all the way to the district attorney's office. A lot of people are seeing this case to see, did the officers do the right thing? Was it justified in the line of duty or was there something wrong? When all of those people are through reviewing it, it then comes to our board and we get the case. And believe me, we're looking at hundreds of pages of reports and photographs of the scene. And then our board of 9 members, we too are going to determine whether the shooting or the knifing or whatever occurred was justified. So this particular case, let me back up. So we have 2 key components of the Community Police Review Commission. We hear complaints and we take officer-involved death cases. But what the other part is going into outreach, going out to the communities and doing exactly what we're doing right now. This is a big part of what we do. We've just finished going to a lot of the high school government classes and other high schools and speaking, letting them know, how do we make the relationship with the police department and the community be a better one? And so that's a big part. So for me right now, the rewarding part of the commission is that outreach and getting to meet young people. So I won't go further, but I will tell you that I'll be available for questions and I will be happy to talk to you about police department. On Santa Ana, I was one of 12 female officers in a department of 400 men. So that had its challenges too for those women out there that maybe are looking for law enforcement. But I'd be happy to answer any questions and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you guys today.
Just one question, because we did have some people out there that perhaps are thinking about pursuing a career as a police officer. Education educational needs in order to become a police officer versus perhaps later becoming a detective? Any advice for the students?
Basically, in Santa Ana, detective was not treated like a promotion such as sergeant and then lieutenant and then captain, but it was, you had to have some special training in different topics, and so say child abuse or robbery, but the department itself supplied you with those classes. But in order to get into any department, you're going to need to be 21. If you have no college education, some agencies will take you, some of them will not. If you could try to go put in an application for Irvine, they're going to want to see that college degree. Did it make a difference for me having my college in place when I applied for the detective spots? I absolutely believe it did. Not only that, I took speech classes, and it just helps you to be able to present yourself better. One of the things that you're going to want to do, whether you're going for the police department in the first place or being a promotion to detective, many agencies call a detective a promotion. If you've made detective, you're making more money than a patrol officer on the street. Santa Ana did it a little differently in that regard. But if you're going to go for anything like that, you're going to want to make sure that you practice. Practice, practice. Now you see some of these mock trials around here. What I used to do for many of the students that I taught, and for just people that came to me and said, I want to be a police officer, what do I need to do? I would actually do mock interviews for these people, whether it was for being a police officer or whether they were going for promotions, so that I could absolutely help them prepare their speech, prepare the knowledge that you would need for whatever topic, whatever detective position you were going after. But I can honestly say, for me, the college made the difference. It really did, because it taught me a lot. My college was criminal justice related with a sociology background. Those two are very key in the world of criminal justice. I mean, everything you do is related to
Currently, our company has 5 offices. We have become what's known as an attorney service, so we offer all types of services for local attorneys and governmental agencies. And we have, from 1988 till today, we've become the largest attorney service in the Inland Empire, which is San Bernardino and Riverside County. And we have an office in Rancho Cucamonga, San Bernardino, 2 offices in Riverside, and 1 in Palm Springs. And again, I have the privilege of working day to day with 4 of my sons, 2 of which are private investigators. So in my world, where my goals were to protect the innocent and to be able to be close to my family, man, I've got, and not to mention drive a hot car. I've also got a 2014 Fire Engine Red Camaro in my garage. So, you know, yeah, life is good for me. It just, you know, when I was 19, I had a waterbed too. That was a great experience. The important things in life. But I'll tell you, we've had some amazing experiences from just helping somebody who's been beat up by a husband, which is, I still save those cases for myself. I'm a big guy, as you can see. I still enjoy a physical altercation from time to time. I work out with weights 2 days a week with a personal trainer so that I can be in shape for those opportunities. Most recently, just a couple of years ago, I was hired to be a bodyguard for a young lady who had been abused by her husband. And my son Joseph, who is the youngest of my boys, is 27 years old. He works for me. He's also a licensed private investigator. He manages my Rancho Cucamonga office. He was joking over lunch one day. He said, geez, Dad, I don't know why they pick an old guy like you when they could have somebody young like me. And I told him, I said, well, your embarrassing point is somebody invited me to fight and not you. But anyway, it's just a thrill for me, and it's a privilege to be here with you guys today.
I have a question for him. Actually, it wasn't on any of yours, but it's one that I think you'll find interesting. Private investigators often do something called a sub rosa investigation. Maybe you can explain to them what that is.
Sure, this is really funny, and I'll tell you a quick story that you're just going to really love on this one. It was one of your teammates, a 17-year-old boy. But what we do is we'll be hired by an insurance company or an employer to follow somebody with a camera. And we have cameras on our dashboards of our car. We carry them in a pin. We have one camera that is no bigger than this. We've taped people doing amazing things on these cameras that they say they couldn't do. The 17-year-old boy out of West Covina had hurt his leg so badly that he couldn't hardly walk, and was getting ready to have a surgery because he was suing for $250,000. And we followed him early in the morning. We're out in front of his house on Saturday morning, 6:30. He comes out at 7 and goes walking on one side of the town. He had a can of spray paint in his hand, and he's tagging all over Kent Town on one side of town. We got it all on film. He comes home. He then washes both of his parents' SUVs, which required him to go up and down on a step stool to get up to the top of Maurice. He's doing it really well with no pain whatsoever. He got done with that. He goes into his house. About an hour later, he comes back out, hits the other side of town with a can of spray paint all over town. This guy is just a genius, you know. You guys probably all go to school with guys like this, right? They're not always thinking with the right head. And so he comes home. We've got him in shape. He's now back safely tucked away in his home. And then the yo-yo decided to have a party about 6:30 in the evening. And lo and behold, what is he doing on the side of his garage as his friends show up? He is selling drugs to his friends, and we have it all on video. Pretty interesting. We turned it over to the insurance company on Monday morning. They called me on the phone and said, Scott, we got a problem here. I said, really, what's that? They said, well, you caught him in drug activity. So yeah, that's what it looked like, but we wanted you guys to make that call. So they had us immediately take a copy of the CD, DVD down to the West Covina Police Department. And lo and behold, his civil case went away completely. Because now he's got a criminal case. Now, they couldn't rely just solely on our information, so they sent their own investigators out to follow up and to do additional sub rosa, which they did. And our case went away. We saved our insurance company $250,000, so they really liked us.
All right, our next speaker is, I would call him Judge-elect Lafferty. actually went to undergraduate at University of California at Riverside, and then his law degree came from McGeorge School of Law, which was my alma mater. On January 5th, we will have the pleasure of swearing in a new colleague, and Sean Lafferty will be one of our new judges starting next year. So without any further ado, here's Sean Lafferty.
I always find myself at these events following somebody like Mr. Jones, so I'm really thrilled about that, given the stories you were telling. I don't know if you're going to find mine are quite so interesting, but as a prosecutor, what I've done for 17 years, I really can't tell you there's a better career out there, especially in the legal field. I've enjoyed it quite a bunch. And before I go any further, I want to echo what other people have said about your attendance here today. What you tell us is that you're interested in the things we do and the careers we have, and that's inspiring. That makes us think that there's going to be good people following us down the road. And so I'm grateful you're here. It means a lot. And getting back to Mr. Jones, I think I may have made a wrong choice because I drive a beat-up old Volvo, and I may need to talk with you a little more after this. I went to UCR as well, as His Honor, Judge Schwartz, mentioned, and if I could give a plug for that school, what a fantastic place. I thought it was great way back when in the 80s and early 90s when I graduated, but it's only become better and more fantastic. And if you pay attention to some of the items in the World News Report and such, that school's ranking keeps going higher and higher. So if I can encourage you in some way or another to check it out and maybe stay local, please do. It's a fantastic institution. Similarly with George, there's a lot of great law schools in the state of California. Don't be limited just by maybe what you see with the UCs and think that's the only game in town. I've enjoyed what I consider to be a fantastic career thus far, and I went to, I think, a very good institution at George, but it may not get the recognition or name value that some of these other institutions do. My career, 17 years as a prosecutor, began in Contra Costa. I'm from the Bay Area, and of course I just told you to stay local, but I decided I wanted to get away to go to school. That's why I chose UC Riverside. I fell in love with the campus when I came down for a visit. And after graduating from college and going to George, I was married at this point. I had the inclination that I wanted to go back to my hometown in Contra Costa and be a prosecutor there. I did get that job, and I was there for 4 years. And one of the best times in my life, and probably the best times of any young prosecutor's life, is being able to get your feet wet and kind of jump into the legal profession, try cases at an early age before really maybe you know what you're doing. That tends to be the practice of most of the offices I'm aware of. They just kind of throw you in and make you figure it out. And really looking back, it was a great time in my life. The way a prosecutor's office works, and I should probably back up, I know Mr. Firetag touched on it a little bit. We prosecute crimes for the county of Riverside. Every county has a district attorney's office in the state of California. And so in that regard, what we do is we take what the law enforcement agencies have to produce for us. They say, here's a case. We'd like you to file criminal charges because we believe one has been committed and we have a victim and such. So we look at these cases. We can reject the case and say, no, there's not enough evidence. We don't believe we can prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. Or we decide there's more investigation to be done, and either we do it or they do it. We kind of work towards getting it to a position in which it's a fileable case. Once we come to a point where we decide we have the crime charged, we have the right individual, we know we can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, we file those charges. We can file a felony, meaning roughly they're going to go to state prison, or as the case may be, they're going to spend more than a year in county jail at some level, or a misdemeanor, meaning under a year in county jail. And both offer the opportunity for probation. And then at that process, as that process moves along, we negotiate the case with the defense attorney on behalf of their client. So Mr. Firetag and I work, did work quite closely in that regard. In fact, I think we actually settled quite a few cases. And one of the joys of our profession is I think we develop great relationships with colleagues on the other side who are doing the best they can for their clients. In any event, if we reach a negotiated disposition, that means the defendant pleads guilty and they get some sort of sentence for which they can live with and we can live with on behalf of the people of the state of California. And that is my client, the people of the state of California. Oftentimes during my career, I would run into which we believe that as a victim of a crime, I was their lawyer. And in fact, they'll refer to me, well, that's my lawyer, Mr. Lafferty. And in case in fact, that's not the case. I am the lawyer for the state of California, people of County of Riverside, and that is what I need to be doing, is prosecuting that case. Obviously, it includes meeting the victim's needs, but what most people don't understand about my role is that my duty is justice. My obligation is to make sure that everybody in that courtroom is treated fairly and that process is due process, that whatever justice or whatever result occurs, that's the way it should have been. That the evidence is fair, that everybody does their job correctly, and so in a sense, it's my duty to look out for the defendant's rights just as much as anybody else's in that courtroom. And I think that's a part of my job that I find the public doesn't realize quite often. We don't see it much in some of the media or some of the TV shows we watch, but it is an important process, a part of my job, I guess, that I value in doing. So in any event, moving on, if we don't reach a plea agreement, we go to trial. And that trial is my burden to prove that case beyond a reasonable doubt to 12 jurors hearing the evidence. We can't do a trial in front of a bench officer, Judge Schwartz, per se, but that doesn't happen too often, especially not in a criminal context. And so thereafter, the jury gets the evidence. I put up my case in chief, as it's called, and it's my duty to convince that jury beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a very, very high standard, the highest standard in the law. What you're not going to find is anybody that's going to be able to pinpoint where it's exactly met. It's one of those situations that you have to leave that jury with what we call a binding conviction of the truth of the charges. Essentially, that means a lasting conviction, if you will. It's difficult, but it gets done quite frequently, and I think a lot of that just comes down to the fact that law enforcement, for the most part, does an excellent job in investigating cases. I think as practitioners, both myself and Mr. Firetag and other attorneys, we do a very good job of eliciting the information in the courtroom so jurors can make a decision about that. Reading through some of the questions that we got to take a sneak peek at some of your questions. One of the things that I was going to be asked, or I thought I'd be asked, is what I find interesting or rewarding. And absolutely beyond any doubt, it's dealing with the individuals involved in these cases. You get to make very, very good relationships with your law enforcement partners, with a lot of members of the defense bar, but it's the people that come into your office who have been a victim of a crime or a witness to a crime, in my experience, who touched me. My specialty during my time at the prosecutor's office was sex assault and child abuse cases, and you don't forget those people after you've met them. You just realize that these people have been affected by something horrific, as Mr. Jones said. It doesn't leave you, and you work very hard to attain justice for them and make sure that you're doing things right. That has been my role as a prosecutor. Now, I was fortunate enough in this county, this great county of ours, we've been growing at such a rapid rate that the DA's office grew at a rapid rate. I was able to promote pretty quickly and steadily through the office. I became a supervisor. We have almost 200 lawyers in our office. We have 3 divisions, one in Indio, one in Southwest, and of course the county seat, Riverside. So I became a supervisor, supervising trial attorneys like I was, and then I became a chief thereafter, meaning I supervised supervisors. And then in this previous administration, I was the assistant district attorney for the Indio division in the Southwest, meaning I supervised everybody. It's been a joyous ride. I've enjoyed everything I've done in the career. I'm moving to the Superior Court bench come January 5, and one of the questions I think I'll preempt Judge Schwartz about is why am I doing that? Because I miss the courtroom. I miss being in a situation where on a daily basis I have the opportunity, not the opportunity, but maybe the obligation to make sure I do something right. When I interview prospective attorneys coming into our office who want to work for us, they always ask me, well, why did you become a prosecutor? And I would say, it's exactly that on each day I have the opportunity to do something right for someone else, make their life a little bit more normal, or back to square one. I'm hoping and I'm thinking that on a daily basis, I can have a more direct impact in doing that for everybody in the courtroom on January 5th, and so I'm really excited about that change. As a manager in the DA's office, there's a lot of rewards and enjoyment in that as well. I didn't go to law school to become a manager, and I did understand that at some point over the last couple of years. But they certainly need good ones, and they certainly have a lot of great people coming up to do that behind me. I think, that's about covers it for me.
One quick question. What do you do when you think you have someone who law enforcement has arrested, sent a police report to you, you've reviewed it, and initially you believe that the person may be good for the crime, but then as the case progresses, you realize that maybe this person might be innocent. What kind of checks and balances are there, and what would you do in that case?
It's an excellent question, and it actually comes up more often than you might think, because as Mr. Firetag says, there are people out there who are innocent and have been accused of something that they have not done. Let's start from square one. As a prosecutor, your ethical duty is only to prosecute crimes and criminals who you believe you can convict beyond a reasonable doubt. You do not present a case to a jury ever if you believe the person to be innocent. It's a horrific understanding that there's some out there who maybe think differently, or maybe it's portrayed differently. But I want you all to be very clear as a prosecutor, your oath is completely to the contrary. And that is doing justice for that individual who may or may not have been wrongly accused. Backing up a little bit, though, I think what you also need to understand, especially in presenting a case to a jury, is you have a lot of time with your evidence and you go through it meticulously. By the time a prosecutor steps into the courtroom and is talking to a jury or talking to the court, they have to know in their mind that one, that they have a crime occurred and that they have the right person, and two, that they can convict this person by proving it beyond a reasonable doubt. If they can't do either of those, then they have to dismiss that case. Now that is something that we discuss internally in our office. The checks and balances that Judge Schwartz refers to means that many people can look at a case and maybe see different nuances or different avenues of understanding whether or not that evidence supports proving somebody beyond a reasonable doubt. Good defense attorneys like Mr. Firetag, when they have evidence that demonstrates their client's innocence, they don't gamble and sit down in the courtroom and decide to just see if they can, be successful at the end of the day with the jury. They let us know right away. And my obligation, my duty, is to pursue that information and ferret it out and make sure that it is what it is, and certainly if it is, that case gets dismissed, or we don't file that case. And sometimes that will happen as well. We'll be considering a case and we'll be contacted by a defense attorney who tells us, you got it wrong here, here's additional information. And that has been helpful and persuasive in making us understand, no, we're not going to prosecute this case. Good question. Thank you.
I can say that I had the pleasure of working with Sean when I was in private practice. We had cases together, and also Sean tried some cases in front of me, and certainly Riverside
made me like a very strong woman. It's made it easy for me to come up here and speak with you guys today. If I could impart a piece of advice on you guys, if you're gonna decide to have a career in general, but especially in law enforcement or law, what you guys do right now matters. You know, you may not think, oh, it's just high school, nobody cares what I do, but when you go in for your interview, as a correctional deputy or anything in law, they're gonna say, okay, let me see your high school transcripts. Okay, what did you do in high school? Did you do drugs? Did you smoke pot? That makes a difference. So, you know, have fun with your life, but really think about your guys' future. That's very important.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip the questions. Truthfully, we did give an advanced copy of many of the questions that you all asked to our speakers. So as you
it's important because you have something special. Each and every one of you have something special to offer out there. Decide what you want to do. Now, what I do, actually, if we were all seated correctly, I should be down at the end of the table over there because I'm at the very end of the criminal justice system. You have the police officer right here that arrests. You have the district attorney right here and the public defender over there that prosecute and defend the person. You have maybe the private investigator that helps the public defender. You have the court reporters. You have the paralegals. If it's a civil case,